We all know matcha works incredibly well with the texture of either milk or alternative milk, so I wanted to test out how well it works with the milk clarified rum base, and it's fair to say the results turned out even better than I'd hoped for. Today I'm going to show you two versions of this drink, one with a fairly neutral base, allowing the flavour of the matcha float to really shine through, and then a second where we actually mix the matcha into the base of the drink, clarifying the whole thing and adding some really delicious complementary flavours to the amazing texture of the drink. Both of these make for very unique and delicious drinking experiences, which I'm really excited to share with you today. So let's make the Clarified Matcha Punch. All right, welcome back everybody to another episode of Matcha Month. These ones I'm really excited about. I think these drinks look visually stunning, but actually I believe they taste even better than they look. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you really enjoy creative drinks like these, be that matcha-based, coffee-based, cocktails, or even tea-based. We cover lots of delicious things on the channel, so make sure you subscribe and don't miss any future episodes. So, milk clarification. If you're not already familiar with this process, it's a fantastic one and a really useful one to have in your arsenal. Essentially what we're going to do is intentionally curdle a base mix, which generally contains some kind of acidity, some spirit, a sweetener, and some other flavourings. By combining this with either milk or alternative milk, then we're just going to strain out the curds. And this leaves you the most incredible drink with a delicious, silky and luxurious texture. This process also has a habit of stripping out some of the astringency and bitterness you find in the base mix. Matcha, bad matcha in particular, can have some of that astringency and bitterness. So if you don't like matcha, or you've only ever had bad matcha before, this could be a really good reintroduction to matcha, where it's a little bit more balanced and a bit more approachable, and just a really nice starting point. I should stress, good matcha shouldn't have unpleasant bitterness and astringency, but now we're gonna get started with our delicious, clarified matcha punch. Two different ways. As always, I recommend building this on scales for the most accurate and repeatable results. And you can just build this straight into a large glass. You can scale this recipe up as much as you want to make as many serves as you like, but going straight in makes it really simple. And we're gonna start with our base spirit here. So I'm gonna make two batches here. The first one, which is fairly neutral, doesn't want to overpower the matcha, so the matcha really shines through. And in here, I'm going with Plantaray 3 Stars rum. This is a blend of rums from Barbados, Jamaica and Trinidad, and it's got a really nice creamy texture. Flavour note wise, a little bit of tropical fruit in there, a little bit of banana, some vanilla, and a little bit of white chocolate as well. So all these flavours play in really nicely with the matcha. And then in our second glass, we're gonna go with 150 grams this time of Plantaray Stiggins pineapple rum. So this is gonna lean into the more tropical fruit flavours again, specifically pineapple, obviously. And we're gonna add some complementary flavours to this to add a little bit more variety to this clarified matcha punch, which will actually contain the matcha itself. So now we've got our base spirits, we need to go in with our acidity. Essentially what we're doing here is making, to order, an acid adjusted pineapple juice. You need to go in with 4 grams of lactic acid to each of your mixes. And the reason for using lactic acid here is purely because I want to really emphasize those creamy textures. Lactic acid has that really nice creaminess and some acidity, but it doesn't add any citrusy flavors, which we don't want to add to this. We want to keep it somewhat mimicking a matcha latte, and lactic acid I think is the perfect acidity in order to do that. So now we've got these two, we're going to add the second part of our essentially acid adjusted pineapple juice, which is going to be 71 grams of good quality pineapple juice. And when I say acid adjusted pineapple juice, if you don't know what I mean by this, you can watch this video, which is all about acid adjustment. But essentially what we're doing here is increasing the acidity of the pineapple juice to be somewhere similar to lemon and lime juice. You could use lemon and lime here. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. I think they're a little bit too wide in terms of flavors and not exactly what we're trying to achieve. But that could be an option. Or you could also go with citric acid, malic acid, tartaric acid in place of lactic. All of these will work. They'll just give slightly different textures to the drink. Next up, we need our sweetener. So in our somewhat neutral base, I'm going with a regular cane sugar syrup. And in our more flavorful alternative base, I'm gonna go in with a cinnamon syrup here. 60 grams in both, but you can experiment with different sugars, different sweeteners, add in different flavors to this, and the world really is your oyster here. So before we finish these off, we just wanna make sure that lactic acid is fully dissolved into the mix. So give these both a good stir till all that powder's gone. These actually smell amazing. Now that's all dissolved, we can go through to our final step before clarification. And this is perhaps a little unconventional, Every video you ever watch tells you to add the liquid into the milk, or alternative milk, which I'm using here, specifically oat milk. But actually for this recipe, you can just add the milk straight into the mix and it curdles perfectly. So I don't know if that's a bit of a myth. I've not actually fully tested which way around you go, but in this one for sure, it will curdle really nicely. We're gonna go in with 75 grams of oat milk here. You can see straight away these have curdled really nicely, and we could just leave these to one side, clarify them as they are. But I thought something that'd be quite interesting would be to layer the matcha onto this one, but actually to add the matcha into the mix in this one and see the difference between the two. So I'm just gonna go in with 6 grams of good quality matcha powder, which is really important. This is gonna have a big impact on the flavor. And then we'll see which one we prefer. I think the aesthetic of the layering is really cool, but we'll get more flavor integration here, and it'll just be an interesting experiment. So you could add this in before clarifying, that'd be completely fine. But I'm just gonna give this a really good mix through. Immediately, it's taking on that really nice, kind of gross looking because it's curdled, but also very vivid and vibrant green. And now that's fully mixed together, we can leave these to one side. While I talk about this video's sponsor, which is Plantaray Rum, and how we can use different rums within the base of our recipe to achieve very different flavor profiles. Plantaray have an amazing selection of rums from all around the world, giving you pretty much unlimited options to adapt this drink to suit your own flavor preferences. You could choose Plantaray Zymaca from Jamaica to really push through those funky, tropical and pungent notes. You could choose Plantaray Isle of Fiji rum from the Fiji Islands to highlight dried and tropical fruit flavors, a little bit of spice and vanilla fudge. Or you could choose Plantaray Sealander, a blend of rums from Barbados, Mauritius and Fiji to emphasize flavors of ginger snaps, dried banana and honey. Many of the Plantaray rums within their extensive range are double aged, meaning that they first mature in their original terroir, then they travel to France to be transferred and aged in ex-Ferrand cognac barrels before being blended to perfection. This signature process gives Plantaray rums their distinctive character and really celebrates the terroir of the individual rums. So be sure to check out the website in the description below. Big thank you to Plantaray for sponsoring this video and giving us lots of variation within this drink. And now we can finish off our clarified matcha punches. So now to finish off our clarifications, just want to give them a little stir just to fully mix them back together, like so. And then you can just start pouring these into our rinsed coffee filter papers. And then just keep an eye on the liquid below. And you want to have a look to see when it starts running clear. The first drips will be a little bit cloudy, that's completely normal and to be expected. But once this is running clear, you just want to grab a slightly bigger vessel, which will contain all the liquid, transfer your coffee filter papers onto a fresh jug, pour in that slightly cloudy liquid, and then you just want to keep feeding these until all the liquid has passed through the paper filter in to the bottom vessel, and you'll have your amazing clarified mix. So while these finish drawing through, I'm just going to prep the matcha for our more neutral base. So very simple here. We're going to weigh this out as we usually do with matcha. I like to go 2 grams of good quality matcha, which we're just going to sieve into our bowl. 30 grams of cold water, and then just give these a really good whisk together. If you want to increase the matcha flavor, obviously add more matcha powder, but I wouldn't add any more water to this because we don't want to over dilute our drink. So you can see that's really nice and glossy now. These have finished drawing through now. I can start finishing up our drinks. So I'm gonna go in first of all with our flavored clarified matcha punch. And this is the one that we actually added the matcha powder directly into that base mix. I'm gonna garnish with a little cinnamon stick. And there you have the cinnamon and pineapple clarified matcha punch. Cheers. The thing that really strikes you is that amazing texture. It's really coating, kind of creamy but not creamy. The matcha in there is fairly subtle but really nicely integrated. If it wasn't there, I don't think it'd have that really nice umami, Moorish mouthfeel. And it's very low bitterness, very low astringency, and it just ties the whole drink really nicely together. Lots of pineapple flavor, lots of cinnamon flavor, nice levels of acidity and sweetness, and the rum is the star of the show, really bringing through that rich pineapple rum flavor. For our second version, I'm just gonna transfer our matcha, which is still really nice and glossy, into a slightly more functional vessel to pour from. And then we can finish off with this amazing, crystal clear, beautiful, clarified matcha punch, which is focused on the more delicate and subtle flavors. And we're gonna bring through that matcha really nicely. We're gonna layer on our matcha very carefully. And this is just a stunning looking drink. Really vivid, really vibrant. and that nice division between the two elements of the drink. And there you have our second version of the Clarified Matcha Punch. So tasting this one, this is designed to be a little bit more neutral, a little bit more matcha forward, and obviously having the matcha on top of the drink, that's the first thing we're gonna taste. You get the clarified mix coming up from underneath, giving that amazing texture. We've got the foaminess from whisking up the matcha together. Pineapple juice comes through really nicely. We've got the characteristics of the rum, a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of tropical fruit, a little bit of white chocolate. And this just almost reminds me of a matcha iced latte, taking out the creamy dairy element, but bringing in a really silky, clean, luxurious characteristic, and it's just a real treat. So I'll leave more videos for you to watch on screen here. This one, which is that beginner's guide to matcha. This one, which I think you're gonna really enjoy. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel by clicking just here. Big thank you to you guys for watching, and a big thank you to Planetary for sponsoring this video. Enjoy experimenting with this template, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.